Where's the money, Lebowski?
The Big Lebowski is about a character named Jeff Lebowski, played by Jeff Bridges, a sort of aging pothead who lives in Los Angeles and who becomes the victim of a case of mistaken identity just because he happens to have the same name as a millionaire who lives out in Pasadena. By virtue of that, he's thrust into this intrigue surrounding a kidnapping involving the millionaire's wife.
The Big Lebowski started really with us thinking about a friend of ours in Los Angeles who the character that Jeff Bridges plays is sort of loosely based on. This is a guy who we've known for about 15 years who actually does call himself the Dude. And it was sort of imagining him in sort of the context of a Chandler kind of a story that got us started on the script.
It just seemed interesting to us to thrust that character into the most confusing situation possible. The person, it would seem, on the face of it, least equipped to deal with it. That's sort of the conceit of the movie.
Wait, let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the Dude. So that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or Duder or, you know, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Are you employed, sir?
Employed? The Dude, who is, he's better known as a Dude, but his real name is Jeff Lebowski. And he gets confused with another Lebowski, a fellow who's, you know, a lot wealthier fella, and he gets mixed up for this guy, and all kind of hell and confusion breaks loose. We have Bunny.
Written by men who are unable to achieve on a level field of
Gather
play.
$1 million.
Howard!
Unmarked, non-consecutive 20.
Weekly.
Await instructions.
Bum.
No funny stuff. Bummer.
It was definitely the Dude we wanted. I think he did have a good time making the movie.
He got to eat whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clear to Jeff that the character wasn't into this sort of Los Angeles health, fitness, and beauty, and that he could sort of let himself go, which he probably kind of enjoyed even just for that.
Well,
but yeah, no, you really...
one thing he did take from the real character, the real Dude, is, you know, the real Dude is quite overweight, and I think when Jeff met him once, and I think he looked at him and went, okay, yeah, I can kind of let my waistline go for this part.
About all Jeff wanted to know, actually pretty consistently. Yeah. Jeff Bridges, the beginning of the start of shooting every scene, he'd walk up to one or the other of us and say, ask if we figured whether or not the Dude burned one on the way over.
Yeah, so do you think the Dude burned one on the way over?
So we'd think about it. Usually we'd say, yeah, he probably burned one on the way over, and Jeff would go over in the corner, rub his knuckles in his eyes to turn him red and do the scene, and that was kind of the extent of what you had to do to direct Jeff. Some actors like talking about it more than others.
No, you're not wrong.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Okay, then. Play Quintana and O'Brien next week. They should be pushover.
Man, you just take it easy, man.
In this particular case, the story was very loosely sort of based on the sort of narrative structure of like a Chandler novel, you know, and those novels are very episodic in nature. They usually follow the main character as he sort of encounters these different characters on a sort of journey to uncover a mystery or find a missing person or whatever it may be in the novel. So that was sort of in this case, that was sort of the model for this story. In each movie, it's a little bit different in terms of where the...
Actually, the one case where it got sort of, just in terms of plot, most involved and most sort of difficult for us to manage was Miller's Crossing, which was a gangster movie, sort of homage to, or rip-off, depending on your point of view, of Dashiell Hammett. And that got very sort of just in the sense of the convolution of the plot, got very sort of involved, and that was sort of, as I say, difficult to manage. This one, yeah, not as much. It was
Partly, this one, we sort of figured, if things are become a little bit too complicated and are unclear, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the plot is kind of not the... and again, this is similar to Chandler. The plot is sort of secondary to the other things that are sort of going on in the piece, I think. And if people get a little bit confused, it's I don't think really necessarily going to get in the way of them enjoying the movie. Yeah, you look at something like The Big Sleep, and nobody seemed to know, including the people who sort of wrote it, what the hell was going on in that plot either. So
The hero, the dude, is not a private eye, but he's really a guy who's a throwback to the characters of the early 70s, late 60s kind of guy.
What makes a man, Mr. Lebowski?
Dude.
Huh?
I don't know, sir.
Is it being prepared to do the right thing? Whatever the cost. Isn't that what makes a man?
Sure, that and a pair of testicles.
Sam Elliott would actually ask us for like, what am I doing in this movie?
yeah,
And we
Sam
had to
would say, I
tell
don't
him.
know what I'm doing here, boys. Happy to be here, don't get me wrong, but
We didn't have anything to tell Sam. We didn't know either. But, didn't hurt his performance any.
How you doing there, dude?
Not too good, man.
One of those days, huh?
Yeah.
Well, a wiser fellow than myself once said, sometimes you eat the bar and much obliged. Sometimes the bar while he eats you.
That some kind of Eastern thing?
Far from it. I like your style, dude.
we really wrote that part for Sam because we like his voice. He's got that really, he really can hit that lower register.
Also, he's got that really big mustache, so when you're cutting the movie, you can move his lines around, cheat him into his mouth, wherever. You can never see his lips. It's a good thing about working with Sam Elliott.
Walter's kind of an interesting character for me. I'm trying to do justice to him. He was written so wonderfully. He's head of a security agency, his own. I think he gets by all right. Doesn't really the most nattily dressed fellow in town. He's got his own agenda. He's got an army background, and that's his career, is reminding people of his service in Vietnam. He means well, but he is a little oafish. That wasn't her toe, dude.
Whose toe was it, Walter?
Should I know? I do know that nothing about it indicates.
Yeah,
it
the
was
nail polish, Walter.
Fine, dude. As if it's impossible to get some nail polish applied to someone else's toe.
Someone else.
Yours.
Where the are they going
You
to
want
get?
a toe? I can get you a toe. Believe me. There are ways, dude. You don't want to know
Walter,
about it, believe me.
Yeah, but Walter.
Hell, I can get you a toe by 3 o'clock this afternoon with nail polish.
Yeah, we wrote the Walter part for John, who I guess this is the third movie we've done with him. Well, actually, as we wrote the part that Turturro plays for Turturro and the part that Steve Buscemi plays for Steve, so those parts were essentially written for those actors.
Were you listening to the dude's story, Donnie?
Walter.
Were you listening to the dude's story?
I was bowling.
So you have no frame of reference here, Donnie. You're like a child who wanders in the middle of a movie and wants to know...
Walter, what's the point, man?
There's no reason. Here's my point, dude. There's no fucking reason why these...
Yeah, Walter, what's your point?
Huh?
Walter, what is the point? Look, we all know who is at fault here.
We saw John Turturro play an Hispanic character in a play at the Public Theater about, must be about 11 or 12 years ago. And ever since then, we've wanted to write something for him where he plays an Hispanic character. And this just seemed like the sort of right opportunity for it, and then, to really give him something to sink his teeth into, we made him a child molester. But I think it's really, it's a pretty vivid characterization given the amount of screen time he has, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. John goes to the core of things.
Characters were conceived as being, partners in a dysfunctional marriage, the Jeff Bridges and John Goodman character, they were, and at the point where we were writing the script, we sort of conceived them in the sense that, designed them so that they would be able to, or constantly would be sort of pushing each other's buttons in terms of those kinds of reactions, the sort of getting on each other's nerves and yet still at a certain level really liking each other. One of the things that Jeff, I think, it's interesting because one of the things that Jeff sort of came to while we were rehearsing before we started shooting was he sort of conceived the character appropriately as being very sort of mellow and laid back, and yet in practically every scene in the movie, he ends up exploding because of what Walter is doing or saying or making happen. And that was something he hadn't sort of associated on the first reading of the script with the character, but it's very much a part of sort of how the two characters relate to each other.
It's a definite buddy movie. That's what I love about it. And the dialogue's just funnier than hell. I mean, it's one of those where you crack the page and you start laughing every 2 pages, enough where you got to sit for 5 minutes and then you can pick it up again.
Walter, I love you, but sooner or later you're gonna have to face the fact you're a goddamn moron.
Okay, dude, no time to argue.
Hey, man! The bridge! Hey, Walter! Hey, Walter! Hey! Oh.
There goes the radio! Okay, dude, your wheel. 15 mph, I roll out. I double back, I grab one of them and beat it out of him. The Uzi.
Lucy!
You didn't think I was rolling out of your neck, did you?
Walter,
15, dude, this is it. Let's take that hill!
We've done 4 movies with Roger Deakins as the cinematographer.
Well, it's funny, we met Roger specifically. The way we started working with Roger is when we did Barton Fink. We were shooting a movie in Los Angeles, non-union, and for that reason but on the other hand, we wanted to work with someone whose work we knew and liked, as opposed to someone who was just starting out, and that sort of meant a foreign DP who wasn't in the unions in the United States. So we'd seen Roger's work, I think, on a number of things, but in particular the Mike Figgis movie Stormy Monday, I think was the last one we'd seen before we talked to him. And we met Roger and liked him and hired him to do that movie, and we've been working together since then. Roger is just, he's one of the, top, 3 or 4 DPs working in the world right now. I think he's like, there's nobody better than Roger. He's, and just personally, we get along really well, so it's been a good collaboration.
Yeah, Julianne Moore is really good. Yeah, it wasn't meant to be. It isn't specifically English, the accent. It's some vague, non-specific, geographically swell finishing school for girls in Switzerland, maybe, accent that she came up with. Yeah, she just, read the script and sort of intuitively grasped that there should be something sort of horribly regal about the character. She's very funny.
Julianne Moore plays a wonderful avant-garde artist who specializes in some sort of feminist art. I couldn't really put my finger on it. Yeah, something to do with women.
Do you like sex, Mr. Lebowski?
Excuse me?
Sex, the physical act of love, coitus. Do you like it?
I was talking about my rug.
You're not interested in sex?
You mean coitus?
I like it too. It's a male myth about feminists that we hate sex. It can be a natural, zesty enterprise. However, there are some people, it is called satyriasis in men, nymphomania in women, who engage in it compulsively and without joy.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, Mr. Lebowski.
Well, movies always get weird reactions. Like some journalists we talk to say, well, so how'd you come up with the story? You just like sit around and smoke a lot of pot. It's some
We
sort
got
of
that from one journalist. Then when we were doing an interview in Germany, a German journalist asked us, so how do you come up with a story? You sit around in a room and drink a lot of beer?
I'm throwing rocks tonight.
Steve doesn't say much in the movie. Well, we thought it would be interesting after, he plays sort of a motor mouth in Fargo. He never really shuts up. And so we thought it would be interesting to sort of go the other way in this movie in terms of the character that we wrote for him. Somebody pointed out to us recently that he's been in the past 5 movies of ours and we've killed him in each one.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know why. In progressively more gruesome ways, too, actually. Well, not that his death in this one is particularly gruesome, not to reveal too much, but his remains seem to get smaller and smaller in each of our movies. I don't know what we'll do next.
No, don't do that. Not on the rug, man.
The carpet, it's interesting. We just got a call from Floor Coverings Weekly, a magazine to the trade, about floor coverings, that wanted to do a story on the Big Lebowski because catalyst for the story was the floor covering. So we did a really long, we were so excited about being on Floor Covering Weekly that we did a really long interview with the woman. She was really taken aback. It was the one time we talked to a journalist where they were anxious to get off the phone and were just humoring us as we nattered on about the carpet and all the other floor coverings in the movie. And she promised to send us a copy of the magazine, but it hasn't materialized yet.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that there's actually a weekly about floor covering.
Yeah, how much is there to say?
It's, and you would think, by virtue of that, she would be interested in a lot of material about the movie.
We even offered to pose for a cover picture, the two of us in front of the Persian carpet, which Jeff Bridges' character appropriates, and she was sort of polite but declined.
Then we started getting suspicious that maybe the whole thing had been a hoax, and she wasn't actually a legitimate representative from Floor Covering Weekly, but some journalist who'd been turned down for an interview in another context. But yeah, it is true that the movie does, the sort of catalyst for the plot, the whole sort of beginning of the movie has to do with a rug being soiled in a sort of very particular way. And the main character's sort of journey through the movie is an attempt to sort of get redress for his soiled rug. That also was loosely taken from real life. One of the characters that the movie was based on used to have a rug that he would salvaged out of the trash from somewhere, that he would go on and on about how it tied the room together in his little apartment. So, yeah, the rug became a very important element.
Yeah, then it just sort of seemed to take off. Actually, literally. I mean, we got into the whole, sort of flying carpet thief of Baghdad thing with one of his pothead hallucinations. We gave the script to Joel Silver, the producer, who gave us a really interesting note, which we actually ignored, but maybe shouldn't have. He said that the movie should have ended with him getting his rug back, or some mention of the rug, which would have been a nice resolution, but he never did do it.
I tripped on a cloud and fell 8 miles high. I tore my mind on a jagged sky. I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
I pushed my soul in a deep dark hole and then I followed it in.
We thought we could do many of those shots practically, the shots where we don't see Jeff full figure sort of floating between the girl's legs in the bowling alley. But actually, human body is such that Jeff's shoulders are just a little too broad, and the girls, though they were cast to be tall, were just not tall enough, so that Jeff couldn't actually fit between their legs. They had to be shot in separate passes. There was a pass of the camera tracking past the girl's legs, and then a shot of Jeff floating over the, being propelled over the bowling alley, and they had to be composited in a computer with Jeff shrunk very slightly so that he could indeed sort of plausibly pass between their legs, but not look like not shrunk to the extent that you'd notice.
But yeah, all the shots in those shots of Jeff with the dancing girls in the Busby Berkeley sequence are composited in a computer. So they were shot separately. The shots where the camera actually goes through the legs were shot practically on a stage, just with a camera on. Well, we did it two ways. We had a little a skateboard essentially that the camera sat on that was sent down with a motor on it, and the camera was sent down between their legs, and it was controlled by an operator with a joystick. It's similar to a device that we used in the bowling alley where we would chase the bowling balls down the bowling lane. This little motorized skateboard with a camera on it could get up to about 20 miles an hour and chase these bowling balls down the lane.
Well, you know, another convention of the private eye movies, I mean Raymond Chandler stories, but again, private eye movies generally is at some point the private eye gets slugged or gets slipped the Mickey fin or whatever and goes into some sort of delirium or hallucination. That's sort of certainly a hallmark of the movies and in many of the novels that movies are based on as well. So in that respect, it was sort of, we had license to do it by virtue of the genre, but also it seemed like we had a special license to do that sort of splashy thing by virtue of the characters being a heavy drug user. So, you know, it just it lets you do things that are sort of a departure from the rest of the movie and do make, in a sense, come out of nowhere, sort of stylistically not like the rest of the movie.
I got up so tight I couldn't unwind. I saw so much, I broke my mind. I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. Someone painted April Fool in big black letters on a dead-end sign. I had my foot on the gas as I left the road and blew out my